False Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm your host, John Buhler, lead writer, fansided.com. I'm joined today by a man who is more important than Michael Jordan, who cares more about the Charlotte Hornets than Michael Jordan, and is more of a threat to Josh Allen than Michael B. Jordan. Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. Time is slipping away, brother. How are you?
I'm just a sinner out here, man. I don't know what to tell you, It's I'm doing good, man. It's been a long week, but we're here, we're thriving, and hey, we actually have college football stuff to talk about. Like we're not just like pulling S out of our hind ends this morning.
No, we're not pulling rabbits out of our head like Jason Witten here. Yeah, we got a little bit of a time crunch today, but a lot of stuff
Yes.
to cover here. So let's not fall start too bad. Here's our first and 15 with some talk portal to me. Jaydn Ott, which is the best middle name ever that he doesn't
Yes,
have.
of
Zach, he's
course.
going he's going to Oklahoma. Nico Iamaleava, maybe going to UCLA or Bishop Sycamore. And
Whichever.
Tanner Koziol is like, I'm out at Wisconsin after a week, after like a couple of days at maybe times lose construct. Ball State was better than Wisconsin for him. It's a tough time for Luke Fickell. So,
Yeah.
what do you want to start? Ott, Iamaleava, or Koziol?
Let's start with Ott because I think it's super interesting. We've discussed a lot of Oklahoma this offseason already, and one of my big concerns was I was looking at this offense. I was looking at it was last year, and I'm like, okay, you may be upgraded to John Mateer over Jackson Arnold. Where else did you actually get better on this offense from that was a problem last year? Now I can point to the running back position and be like, you got better at this
Yeah,
position. And like, I do think that Oklahoma. I don't think this is a move that's going to put them in the like in contender status in the SEC. I don't think this is going to put them in a college football playoff race. Do I think this probably locks them into a bowl game? Yeah. Do I
yeah.
think that this probably like means that they upset someone in the SEC at some point? Probably, yeah. But like, and I understand that for Oklahoma, that is not the expectation in Norman. At the same time, from where you were a year ago, that is an upgrade, and that does seem to be that you're trending in the right direction.
A lot of things to unpack here. So I wrote this article for fansided.com about their depth chart, and I could care less like how the running back position looks there.
Yeah.
What I noticed is like, man, their starting offense first team is a bunch of like upperclassmen and a lot of transfers. So
Yeah.
like whatever they had before was not there before. I think that like there is a chance that with Ott being in the same backfield as Mateer playing for Arbuckle, it could look vastly different than what we saw under Seth Luttrell and I guess Kel Gundy, even though I think he was more of a quarterbacks coach. But
Right.
like the Oklahoma offense might be enough to bridge the gap to where, like you said, like, yeah, they're probably going to be a bowl team, but along with Florida, they have the hardest schedule in the
Mhm.
country. So with this, like, yeah, we think they're going to upset somebody. Maybe they beat Alabama again.
Yeah.
Got to play in Knoxville, got to play Texas. It's really tough, but maybe they're closer to an 8-win team than we gave them credit for.
No, I definitely think that might be the case because, with all of the criticisms that we've levied towards Brent Venables, one thing I've been very careful not to say, the defense is still good, man. Like Brent
Right.
Venables still knows how to call a defense, and the defense was not the problem with Oklahoma last year. So like if you can get the offense to a passable level, that's a good thing. And you mentioned all the transfers coming in. It's I'm not as high on it as I am like LSU's defense, but it's a similar mold. Like you look at LSU's defensive depth chart, there's like 7 or 8 transfers that are expected to start for there. And like based on what we saw from that unit last year, hell yeah, brother, do that.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. And so like I feel the same way about Oklahoma's offense. Like if there are ways you can upgrade or you felt you could upgrade in the transfer portal, hell yeah, brother, do that.
100%. So you brought up a great point, though. It's still Brent Venables, so the defense is still probably going to be good. Didn't even look at that side of the equation for them. Really, two things that I thought of before maybe we talk about Nico and Tanner. Nico
Yes.
and Tanner.
Of course.
Let's cut the orange slices and hand them out at soccer practice.
That's right. Gotta get a
Uh,
Capri Sun with it.
100%. They don't land him if DeMarco Murray leaves and goes to Penn State. That's a huge
Yeah.
step in the right direction. I also kind of find it interesting that Cal and Oklahoma were both like leaving conferences they were staples of
Hmm.
for, untrodden territory. And like, I don't know if Cal's necessarily going into the ACC as like the second fiddle, but Oklahoma was to Texas. Obviously, Cal thinks a little bit better run right now than Stanford, which is in shambles. But like, I think Ott having to play in the ACC for a year and having to deal with that
Yeah.
probably is going to help with like a lot of the new faces there in Oklahoma because so much of the offense is from Washington State, and I think that like this potentially gives Oklahoma the crashing sense of urgency that they need to kind of get out of this because they gave up being one of the three best programs of all time to essentially be Auburn in the SEC. And that's fine. You can win national titles there, but it's not the same as being the best program in the Big Eight and the Big 12 historically.
Yeah, you're not going to win 10 games every year. Like that
No.
expectation should go out the window because this is not the Big 12. I do want to pour one out for our boy Justin Wilcox and Cal. Jaydn Ott was one of five Cal running backs to enter the transfer portal in a 48-hour period. Tough scenes. Frankly, and no disrespect to Cal, I hope this is what gets Justin Wilcox the hell out of Cal into a better job because we've been asking for that for a while now. And when you're losing five running backs in the portal in one offseason, like one spring, like I feel like that's the type of thing where you're just like, man, I've got to go somewhere else, anywhere else.
I have a solution. Just go call the defense and make your alma mater's defense have teeth because you're Ducks and you don't have teeth.
Yeah, I like it. I'm totally down for it.
Uh, I'm totally down for it, and it's a tough time for Cal. I mean, he's the original. I'm trying, Jennifer, but
Yeah.
the original "You're doing great, sweetie" is Nico Iamaleava. It looks as though like I maybe ink has hit paper. It's looking like he's going to go to UCLA for less than what he was making at Tennessee. I think
Yep.
it's like 175. I mean, once you see that Colin Cowherd and Bruce Feldman put their name on it, then it's like they're not going to. They're so well connected within the recruiting and
Yeah.
the Southern California media market. Like he's from Long Beach. I get it. I kind of like this for the Bruins. This makes them probably closer to a bowl team,
Yeah.
but like, what a PR disaster. And man, just like, I had no idea Nico's dad, Big Nick, was a problem.
Oh, he's a big problem. That's why they call him Big Nick. And yeah, I mean, I do like I think it's a good move for UCLA. Like it's a huge upgrade at the quarterback position in terms of talent, but at the same time, it's interesting that you have been jokingly referring to Nico as DJU
I
2.0
know.
because this feels a hell of a lot like DJU going to Oregon State. That's what this feels like. And like the money of it and the getting less NIL from UCLA than he was at Tennessee, like we'll discuss we that's actually going to be our next segment and like we'll discuss that a little bit more in depth, but like man, it's just you miscalculated this like pretty poorly. Like you absolutely like misread your valuation, your market. And like there were reports before the UCLA, like we were joking in our work chat, like it felt like every 2 hours, like a school who was conceivably interested was dropping out, whether it was North Carolina, whether it was Tulane, whether it was Notre Dame, whether it was USC, like it was just like a constant flow of teams being like, we're not paying that price to the point that we got a report at one point that was like, Nico,
Nico,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not in that headspace. Never was, never gonna be, but I'm not even close right now. Ni-
Jesus.
Nico was like Nico was going to have to like basically teams were waiting Nico out, being like you're not gonna get even what you got at Tennessee. So like we're just gonna wait until he finally realizes that and takes whatever money we're willing to give him. And like that kind of tells you everything you need to know about the situation.
And then you're also like on the way out, you're like, you're throwing shade at Josh Heupel and his offense. I'm like, well, why the hell did you go there? You knew what this was. You knew this was going to be probably the most like prototypical air raid out there. I mean, like Lincoln Riley is air raid, but it's power running, so it's probably
Mhm.
more run and shoot than air raid at this
Yeah.
point. But like you knew what this was. We always say like this is why it doesn't translate to the NFL. This is why any wide receiver at Tennessee is just not going to work. It's why every quarterback, for as much as we like Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton, it's like it's muted
Yeah.
because this is it's like Baylor what it was under Art Briles and stuff. It just doesn't work, and it works in college. It doesn't work now, but like why would you go there besides like the money and everything? I think the guy is just completely misguided. And I'll finish with this. I came across this on Twitter. I don't care if it's politically correct or not. I've been watching the league a bunch, but
Okay.
I came across this thing on Twitter, and this guy says in Knoxville, says like I went to Chick-fil-A and said I want a Chick-fil-A sandwich and absolutely no Polynesian sauce. He said that unprompted, just in the drive-through. It was just like, oh my God, people in Knoxville are really going through it right now.
Oh, shouts to Rocky Top, man. That's that's incredible. I love
Yeah, I think
it.
it was yeah, Matt Falks in the comments. the other day. Is like, nobody wants to deal with him. Once they knew it was just he's all about the money, everybody in Tennessee is just completely out. They just knew he was just really bad for the locker room. And I get that, but like Tennessee's going to pull back. Maybe you end up getting Mike Wright from Vanderbilt. Maybe you end up doing something else, but like this does pull the Vols back considerably.
I mean, Mike Wright is just a touch of irony being a Vanderbilt guy when Vanderbilt now has the live dog, Diego Pavia.
Hmm.
And so, like, if Mike Wright's the starter for Tennessee, I think for the first time in a very long time, Vanderbilt might actually have the better quarterback between them and Tennessee. Like, that's
Yeah.
that's a weird world to be living in if you're a Tennessee fan.
Pat and Robinette, eat your heart out.
That's right.
But I guess like the last thing is like Nico going to UCLA. I think this does help UCLA a little bit. I think this makes them closer to a bowl team. Deshaun Foster impressed me a lot, but like again, I find it interesting that UCLA is paying the money because they don't have like boosters. It's what Casey Wasserman and Troy Aikman using Wingstop money.
Yeah, I mean, and Troy Aikman, like, from what I know of Troy Aikman, he ain't parting with a dime of that, brother.
No, and I don't know if they're going to part with the dime for that, but Tanner Koziel will finish up with that. Oh my God, we are so like maybe I was to this before you, but like Wisconsin, it's just this is looking like Scott Frost 2.0.
Yeah, it's not looking good. And like, if I was I don't know how old Kozil is. Like, he could be, 18 to 22. But when I was 18 to 22 years old, brother, you know what I would not have wanted to do? Spend a spring in Wisconsin. Like, that
No,
seems like awful. Like, it's probably still like 45 degrees there. Like, I understand it does get warm in the summer. It ain't warm right now. And like, maybe that's part of it. He did come from Ball State, so he's a little used to that. But like, Wisconsin's a little bit harsher than Ohio. I don't know, man. Like, and then you throw in like spending your spring in the cold with Luke Fickell yelling at you about running an offense that clearly does not work at Wisconsin. Like, what are we doing?
I will make that goldfish climb a tree, but like I'd rather go back to Muncie, Indiana, and just pretend to be Garfield, just hang
Sorry,
out there.
Indiana, not Ohio.
Yeah,
I
it's
apologize.
it's okay. It's early, man. You're
The
you.
The MAC is all Ohio to me. Like, every school in the MAC is in Ohio.
They all just have Ohio energy, no matter where they are. Even Western Michigan, very Ohio. I mean, they're a horse.
Big Ohio energy.
But I guess like this, like the last thing is, are you more down on Mike Locksley or Luke Fickell? I feel like those are the two coaches in the Big Ten that are just in the worst shape right now.
That's a good question. I would probably go Loxley just because we've seen it for so long. And I think like with Fickle, there is at least the hope of the unknown. I don't think that's there anymore with Loxley. Like, I think that was
No.
the selling point with Loxley. Like, hey man, look at the talent he's getting here. Maybe he can turn this around at some point, and he just hasn't. Like, it's the same song and dance every single year with Maryland. Whereas with Luke Fickle, he's still early enough in his tenure where like, maybe he's weeding out the bad seeds. Maybe he's getting things going in the direction that he wants them to go. We don't know that. I don't really believe that, but like, it's at least possible where I don't think it's possible anymore with Loxley.
Yeah, I think Loxley's closer to being out, but I think he lands much better because at the very least, everybody knows he's a really good offensive coordinator. He'll find work immediately. Like
Yeah.
it's like Mike Boba. It didn't work at like Colorado State, and he's found work at like Georgia again, South Carolina, Auburn. Like Loxley will be he'll be at the OC like somewhere in the
Yeah.
SEC, the ACC very quickly, and that offense will be fired up, and he may win the Broyles. Whereas Luke Fickell, I'm like, yeah, maybe you're just a G5 head coach.
Maybe, and it's funny you say that because what was just going through my head about like where Luke Fickle could potentially land next. If John Summerall leaves for a better job, Luke Fickle just going to Tulane might make a lot of sense.
Yeah, because he played for the Saints for a little bit and coached down there, so maybe that's a good fit as well.
Yeah, and like obviously like Tulane has a good infrastructure at the G5 level, so like you wouldn't be like trying to build something up from the ground for sure.
No, it's like he'd be going to like the newer version of Cincinnati, so I like
Yeah.
that. So to tie the bow on this, we like Jaden Zackott going to Oklahoma. We wish Nico something. I don't know if it's the best, but he's going somewhere. And then Tanner Koziel, like just getting out of Dodge there in Madison, Wisconsin.
Hell yeah, brother.
And I wonder if Nico Iamaleava has ever heard of Ramstein. Let's move on to some Du Hast or Du Hast.
I'm gonna say
Uh, I'm gonna-
no. I'm gonna say absolutely not.
no, no, not at all. No, he doesn't even know what a Ram or a Stein is.
No, not a clue.
No, no. I believe Ramstein's basically like something like you ram into a door. Like it's like a
I think you're right.
or like a something where you put the slide under the door, like a door stop. That's kind of
Hmm.
what that is.
Okay, okay.
I've
You,
looked
you
that
you
up.
you do a little bit of German. You do a little bit.
I mean, I'm a little bit of German, so that's fine. But you asked the question first because this was your prompt.
Yeah, so talking about Nico and looking at the situation and how it's has played out, taking less money to go somewhere that is a worse program than Tennessee, will Nico Iamaleava, whatever, transfer portal struggles serve as a cautionary tale for future NIL holdouts and transfers? Because I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, if I'm a high price, like if Bryce Underwood goes through the same thing, hates Michigan, wants to get out of there, and is like holding out for more money. Is he going to actually do that now after looking at this situation?
I am so incredibly Duhas two S's. People hate learning, man. They don't care. They don't care at all. This might be the other side of it, what you're thinking about, but like I just sit here and I see people just the world we live in. It doesn't matter whatever it is. I just feel people just they hate learning. They hate learning vicariously through other people. When people do that, they get a leg up. And I just kind of feel that like what we're starting to see in the NIL world, unfortunately, particularly in the world of quarterbacks, they're playing flag football, they're doing 7-on-7 camps. They're
Yeah.
getting more and more specialized into just their one thing. Like they're not playing baseball, they're not playing basketball. It's just this one thing. It's become more and more like the basketball circuit where it's all about the shoes
Hmm.
where like these kids are anointed at 13, 14 years old and they can do no wrong. They live a different life than everybody else. They're completely insular and like they start growing up in a world where they think that like Mariah Carey thinks that the it was just so out of touch. She thought that like the city of New York provided everybody free electricity. Like like nonsense like that. So yes, I think that there may be people out there like Arch Manning is like, yeah, I'm not going to be this stupid because well, he comes from a very smart, well-to-do
Yeah.
family. But there's going to be somebody else out there. I'm not going to say Bryce Underwood. I'm not going to say anybody
No,
else.
I was just
Everybody's
using
different.
Bryce Underwood as an example. Like just
No.
someone who I knew was paid a lot of money out of high school. That's where I was going with Bryce Underwood.
Um, but I just say like for more likely than not, people are going to keep making this same mistake until we get guardrails on it. It's like the same thing with professional athletes. Like people go broke. They don't understand like that's why the NFL has the worst players unit because people can't hold on to their money. It's like we had to hold out for 1 month and then they can't do it. And then that's why they have not guaranteed contracts. So
Yeah.
no, do Host two S's all the way.
So I'm gonna go Duhas 1S, but it's actually like 1.5. Like I'm kind of falling in the middle because you're absolutely right in a lot of cases. Like this is going to happen again. Like it's not going to be a universally learned lesson. I do think it will add to like the consideration in the process. And like it's not going to like slow down the transfer portal. Don't get me wrong there. Like there are going to be people who enter the transfer portal, but in terms of like high priced high school guys who come in and then try to hold out for more money, I do think they're going to have to weigh the consideration of what have I done? And like I think like in Nico, that was like honestly one of his big things. Like yes, I'm sure his reputation preceded him in some capacities, but at the same time, you're also looking back at last season and it's like, brother, you basically had a 1-to-1 TD INT ratio in the SEC last year. You threw for 19 total touchdowns last season. Like you did not live up to the billing of what you were coming out of high school, so therefore your valuation has actually gone down. You should be thankful that Tennessee was paying you what they were. And so I have to imagine that there will be at least a couple transfers in the near future who or potential transfers who think about entering the portal and are like, can I actually get more money than I'm making now? Like that's going to at least be a consideration. Again, I say 1.5 S's just because like you're right. There are going to be people who do not learn a damn thing from this. There are going to be people who still make the same mistake. There are going to be people who make similar mistakes. But I do think there are going to be cases where we do see some consideration about this. Like it is one of those things where I feel like it's probably going to happen a dozen times before anyone actually like truly like widespread learns a lesson. But we're at one now, not a dozen.
You bring up a good point and makes me think of a few other things here. So where you could conceivably convince me is I think that like the lessons being learned by the university and the boosters.
Hmm.
It's like it's like you're going through like you're extending a bid to join this fraternity, and you're like, okay, this guy may have a really rich dad, but the kid's a brat, or like they're a narc and they're gonna tell on us, so we can't let them in here. This is what you signed up for, and this is why you get kicked off campus when they narc on you.
Right.
But like there's also like I think this also kind of goes in line with honestly, my Braves are going through this now because Alex Anthopoulos gave a bunch of money to Marcell Ozuna. For the first 2 years, it was terrible. Now he's our best hitter with a bad hip. And then like
Yeah.
he won't pay anybody like Max Fried or anybody in free agency, and they just go. And then let's give Michael Harris even more money to strike out looking. What a colossal waste of time. Yeah, that was bad. That was so bad
It
yesterday.
was a tough game, especially I had close eyes on it because as a Red Sox fan, I need the Blue Jays to lose. So
Yeah.
would have appreciated a win there from the old Bravos.
Hmm. Yeah, Spencer Strider's first game back in the year, and that's how we repay them.
My God, let me tell you what, while he was rehabbing that shoulder, my boy was not skipping leg day. My
No.
God, the quads are on fleek. Like they're out there right now.
Yeah, man. I wonder what his NIL valuation could be if he played quarterback at like Tennessee. I mean, he did
Oh
grow up
yeah.
in Knoxville, so
Oh
like,
yeah, 100%.
he chose another color orange with Clemson to play ball at, but neither here nor there. This also goes back to like we don't learn from history. We went through this about a century ago in the acting world with Jackie Coogan, like
Mhm.
the guy who played the kid next to Charlie Chaplin, and his parents took all of his money. He's like, oh, he's just playing. We're gonna be frivolous spending on lobster dinners and whatever. And Jackie Coogan went on to play like Uncle Fester and the Addams Family. They created something where like 10-20% of whatever a child's wages they make in the entertainment industry, like that goes in a special like IRA that they can't touch, so the parents can't get to
Mhm.
it. And it's like probably the best thing that's happened, that his longest long-term legacy and everything like that. But like we don't have that in NIL now. We don't have that at all. It's like the parents are just Big Dave, Big Nick, Big whoever is just
Why
Grady
why they always
training.
got to be big when they're out here like causing problems in the AL world? It's always a big
I mean,
somebody.
they're too small to be big.
That's right.
Oh, what a disaster.
Too small to be big. I love it.
And let's talk about some quarterbacks. Let's move on to the third segment of our show with That's My Quarterback. Let's break
Yes,
down the
sir.
races at the four schools of note that have somewhat of quarterback controversies or battles that have completed their spring games. That'd be Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and to some degree, Georgia. Again, the other big ones like Colorado, Maryland, Michigan, and Oregon have not had their spring games yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens then. But I wrote this for fansided.com. A lot of interesting things here. Kind of work our way through this. Let's start with Alabama. It's looking like
Yeah.
it's going to be Ty Simpson.
Which, man, that is not how I expected this to go. I'll say that right now. When we were talking about it, and you before you wrote something for fansided.com, we were trying to talk about it, and like we kind of decided on like this is a bad look for Kalen DeBoer, man, because you brought in Austin Mack from Washington, four-star recruit, and it was like your guy at Washington, and you brought him in here, and you like with Jalen Milroe leaving, it seemed like okay, time for Kalen DeBoer to put his fingerprints on here, and Austin Mack's going to be the guy. Well, brother, your guy at Washington can't be your guy at Alabama, and we've talked about that before. And it seems like DeBoer is kind of learning that lesson because whatever they saw this spring, if Ty Simpson's beating you out, like him just being at Alabama and being in the SEC, having at least minimal experience in the SEC, seems to be more valuable than whatever Austin Mack has gone through.
And then like we got Keelan Russell, which is just too far down the
Yeah,
pipeline. Again, I mean Ryan Grubb went out there and said like, yeah, Ty Simpson was start. And then when Ryan Grubb got hired, Keelan Russell was like so excited about this. And it's basically like it's almost like creating a fissure within the dichotomy in the offense of Alabama. It's like people are trusting Grubb more than DeBoer at this point, which is really odd.
yeah. Well, I mean, you look at what the offense and how inconsistent, how up and down, how much of a roller coaster it was last year. And you look at the one missing component based on what Kalen DeBoer had done at Washington. It was Ryan Grubb. Ryan Grubb
Yeah.
was not there last year. So I don't like, I'm sure DeBoer deserves more credit than he's getting. But if I'm an Alabama fan and I'm giving Grubb all the credit for this, like I can't blame you for that. Like I think that's a very logical conclusion to reach.
For sure. And I think with Ty Simpson, like he was a five-star coming out. He
Yeah.
is he is an Alabama type of guy. I think he'll be successful if he starts. Like he'll be like maybe like a lesser version of Mac Jones, which we forget was really, really good for about a
Yeah,
year and a half there at
absolutely.
Alabama.
No, I mean,
So
there's a
like,
reason he was a first round pick. Like,
oh
it was a
yeah.
bad first round pick, but like, there's a reason that happened.
Yeah, so Austin Mack has like the size and everything working for him, but it didn't matter.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's and like I wouldn't be honestly wouldn't be that shocked if there's a conversation that's had with Austin Mack pretty soon, being like, "Hey, brother, you want to explore the transfer portal, see where else you can go?" Because Keelan Russell's right behind him, and like I would suspect that Keelan Russell's going to be a lot more of a factor for that job next year than Austin Mack's going to be.
Get ready to learn tight end, brother.
Yeah, hell yes.
And it's not like the rest of the staff like left. Like Jamarcus Shepard and Nick Sheridan are still there.
Yeah, it Alabama just has some weird vibes coming out of it right now. That's really the only thing I can say about it is like I'm not like whenever we do like talking about college football playoff contenders, like I have a hard time like really putting my finger on what Alabama is going to be, what they are, because it just feels for I mean, we went through 2 decades where it was just like a formality. Like they may not win a national championship, but they're going to be a top 10 team. Now it's like I really don't think they're capable of winning a national championship,
No.
and maybe they're a top 10 team, which is a weird place to be in with Alabama.
Yeah, we're like, are they the 10th best team in the country or are they the 20th best team in the country?
Exactly.
And that's moved it down a little bit there. I will say though, if there is any positive though, I think being this certain, like you can go ahead, you can move forward and you can fail faster, you can get out of this quickly.
Yeah.
Where like I appreciate the clarity and I appreciate all this because like the other teams are going to shroud it more in secrecy a little bit, particularly Notre Dame
Yeah.
and Ohio State. But like this seems like it's like if this is your guy, just get him ready for it and we'll see what happens. But like you got to believe that Russell's coming.
Oh, he absolutely is. And I mean, like, maybe that's why they feel comfortable naming Ty Simpson the starter because, like, we have seen Ty Simpson. It's not been particularly pretty to this point. Maybe that changes in DeBoer's offense because we have not seen him in that. But also, like, if he goes out and he still struggles, it's pretty nice to have a 5 star, like, waiting behind him. And, like, you get to throw in the freshman because that's what fans are going to be calling for anyway if Ty Simpson goes out there and struggles.
100%. So it's looking like it's going to be Ty Simpson there at Alabama. Let's move on to Georgia. This is probably the most obvious one. It's Gunnar Stockton, although it does seem though that they are very high at Ryan Puglisi. Obviously, Ryan Montgomery just got here, but like it kind of feels like they've kind of got the quarterbacks they want. Like previously, it's like okay, a bunch of transfers coming in and everything. All these guys have been homegrown. These are all Bobo guys, and I mean, yes, we had like Monken and everything like that, which was great.
Yeah.
May never get back to that, but like it does kind of seem that like it could be a little more plug and play than I thought. But I do think that Stockton's ability to run, being there a little bit longer, works. But if he gets hurt, they'll go with Puglisi, and I think that'll be just fine.
Yeah, no, Georgia's in a really good spot. And it's interesting you mentioned, like the transfers in the room and stuff like that. Yes, they've been in the quarterback room. Who's been starting? It's been the homegrown guys every single time. Like that's just
Yeah,
kind of the Georgia MO. Like no offense to Georgia, but like if I'm a quarterback, no chance in hell I'm transferring to Georgia because I'm not going to play. I'm going to
no,
play. Mike Bobo's guy is going to play over me every single time. So like I don't know why you would ever transfer in there, but it is interesting to see now that we have 3 homegrown guys kind of leading the race in the quarterback room because like to me that's where Georgia wants to be. That's where Georgia like is in their honey hole because these are homegrown guys. These are guys you've had your fingerprints on since they came out of high school. And to your point, like Gunnar Stockton is a better runner than Puglisi, so and like has a little bit more experience. So yes, I fully understand why they would turn to him over Puglisi, but at the same time, like he does run more, so that means he's probably going to take more contact, and you can feel confident in the fact that if he does get banged up, you have Puglisi there waiting in the wings.
100%. And I guess the other thing is, like, I think the running takes the ball out of his hands to throw for the receivers to not catch it because that's
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 right.
still an issue. I swear, man. Like I've been a Georgia fan since I went there. I mean, I got a Georgia shirt on, sort of like
Yeah, yeah.
off brand, like yeah, this thing. There we go.
That's not off brand. That's on brand, brother.
Dead Threads, yeah, that one with the Falcons as well. Shout out the Arizona State podcast, get me for that. But like. Wide receiver outside of what AJ Green and like Lad McConkey, it's been a lot of like,
Yeah, like even George Pickens, what like
yeah,
every Georgia fan, like watching Steelers fans go through it with George Pickens and his antics. Every Georgia fan's like, "Yep, yep, that's
done been
that's
there.
that's that's the George Pickens experience,
It, it uh
brother."
it'd be like that. So it's looking like it's gonna be Gunnar Stockton. As for the final two in this segment, Notre Dame, this is the one that's probably the most wild. Again, I think Marcus Freeman's very happy that he can basically trust all three quarterbacks, whether that would be Steve Angeli, CJ Carr, or to some degree, even Kenny Minchie, who plays probably a lot more like Riley Leonard than the other two.
Yeah,
We were like higher on Angeli, like, okay, this is like precision pass or this is gonna work, but like he's apparently a slow starter. CJ Carr, grandson of Lloyd Carr, iconic Michigan coach, the guy who lost to App State.
that's right.
uh, uh,
Shouts to that game always.
Tom Brady's former head coach too. Um, like Carr like started hot, had like a little hiccup in the middle and finished strong. So like I feel like he's picking up a lot of momentum to potentially catch Angeli at this point.
Yeah, no, and I think that one thing I respect about Marcus Freeman is like he's going to make the tough decision. You know what I mean? Like Angeli had been in the program coming into last year, and they were like, "Man, I'm not sure you're quite ready. Like, we're gonna go get Riley Leonard." Like, they made that decision to go get Riley Leonard instead of going with Angeli, who played in the bowl game the year prior. So like, it wasn't like he hadn't seen what he could do in an actual live game, and so if Carr is outplaying him, then we can go with that. I think I venture to guess that Angeli's still going to be the starter, but it's going to be on a short leash because
Yeah.
like it's again another situation where I think you can feel confident in what you have behind Angeli, but like I do think the overall experience of Angeli is going to win out in the very end, but like it's good like we'll probably see some CJ Carr there at some point in the first four games. And like honestly, you know what it could end up being like? Thinking back to the Trevor Lawrence Kelly Bryant year, Trevor Lawrence's
Yeah.
freshman year, where basically through the first four games when they were trying to decide whether or not he was going to redshirt or not, they split reps, and every like anyone with eyes was like, "Brother, Trevor Lawrence is the way better quarterback in this situation." I don't know if it's going to be that glaringly obvious with Notre Dame with CJ Carr, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like that.
No, that's a good point there. I think if you name Angeli the starter, like Carr's not going to transfer, whereas if you name Carr the starter, Angeli might transfer.
Exactly.
It's kind of the way I
It's the
view it.
game within the game, man.
There was a teacher in my high school named Kelly Bryant, and they kept calling her on the PA all the time. Kelly Bryant, you need to come fix this. I don't know what she taught. She just fixed things.
Hey, you know, the fixer.
And I don't know if that's Lincoln Kienholz's nickname because we know Julian Saint's nickname is Gnome and Tavian St. Clair. You got to earn one there. Yeah, moving on to Ohio State. We can definitively cross off Tavian St. Clair. Again, it's just too much of a learning curve, probably because the other two guys are really good and would start most places. Kienholz was probably the leader and still may be because he practices really well, but Sam looked really good in the spring game. Again, this is the toughest decision to make because like they're coming off a national championship. Ohio State's never repeated in my lifetime doing this. And I mean you gotta play Texas early. Like you
Yeah.
got some tough games, man.
And the fact that they play Texas out of the chute is what honestly leads me to believe that it's still going to be Holtz when this is all done because he does have more experience. He has been in the program longer than Julian saying. And like I do think like not much longer, but a little bit longer. And I do think that you want to get your most experienced guy in there. You want to feel like I feel like the based on what I saw at the spring game, it looks and like you know after reading the practice reports and stuff like that, I do think that what it comes down to is the ceiling is probably way higher with Julian Sand. Like Julian Sand's the type of quarterback that can get hot in the college football playoff and win you back-to-back national championships. Lincoln Kienholz is the kind of guy that you're gonna be in the playoff. I don't know where you go in the playoff, but you're gonna be in the playoff if you start Lincoln Kienholz.
Yeah, it's basically like what Michigan had with Cade McNamara
Yeah,
and
yeah,
JJ McCarthy a little bit. Obviously, I like saying a lot more than McCarthy, but
yeah.
that's neither here nor there. Interesting enough, because they're playing Texas early, you got the number one recruit in the 23 high school class with Manning. I think Kienholz is like 11 because I read something about this. Kienholz is one of four quarterbacks in the top 11 who have not transferred. The other ones would be Avery, the teeny bopper Johnson at K-State, and
That's
then
right.
Christopher Vizina, who's apparently still at Clemson.
I did not know he was still at Clemson. I had forgotten the name, quite
Yeah,
frankly.
yeah, but like everybody else is transferred, like Malachi Nelson, Jackson Arnold, Nico Iamaleava. Like there's just a bunch of Jaydn Rashada, you know, get a
And
cup of coffee at Georgia.
I did see someone like speak on this, and I did want to kind of like reiterate this point because, not all of these situations, like people were like lumping Nico, all these other quarterbacks that transferred with Nico, they were lumping them in together. Very different situations. All
Yeah,
these other guys basically transferred because they were either in the wrong fit, like someone like Jackson Arnold, like he got his opportunity at Oklahoma and it just clearly wasn't the right fit, or you weren't good enough to start. Shouts to Malachi Nelson, who wasn't good enough to
100%.
start at USC or Boise State. So, like, like sometimes you just whiff in the recruiting trail, and that's what happened with some of these guys.
Maddox Madsen, man, that guy, he's kind of he's kind of figuring it out. I'm excited about watching him
He's
this year.
like, Diego Pavia's the live dog. I'm gonna anoint Maddox Madsen the live puppy. Like he's not quite a dog yet, but I like he's got a little dog in him.
Yeah, little dog. So breaking down the quarterback races before we do some really dumb stuff to finish the show up
Oh
here.
yeah, we're about to get real stupid, y'all.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great in the time crunch. So Alabama, it's looking like it's very much going to be Ty Simpson. Austin Mack's not there. We'll see what happens with Keelan Russell. Georgia, it's looking very much like Gunnar Stockton, although I think Kirby Smart and Mike Bobo are pretty comfortable in Ryan Puglisi, not necessarily Ryan Montgomery. Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman's in a great spot. I think they probably still got to go with Angeli to basically not lose him, but Carr's coming and Kenny Minchie can run.
That's right.
And then Ohio State, Tavian St. Clair, just too young for this. We think it's still going to be Kindholtz just because they got to be a little more stable out of the gate, but saying's coming. Know what I'm saying?
No, know what I'm saying? And I do want to give a little shout out to North Carolina. We're getting Gio Lopez, it looks like.
Yes.
Can't wait. We're probably going 7-5, but damn, it's gonna be fun getting there.
You got to inject a little South into your North Carolina. That's what it's all about
That's
here.
right.
And you got to inject the party animal into your spring break. Moving on to the second half of our show with some spring break with Antonio Banderas. We're going to recap the nonsense from Louisville and Alabama, and we're going to prepare for more to come with Indiana today, South Carolina tomorrow, and Michigan on Saturday. So. Miller time. That was basically the only thing Antonio said in Louisville the entire time. I'm like, dude, you're on the Bourbon Trail. They don't just have Miller out there.
Yeah, no, we walked into the Woodford Reserve distillery, and they were like, "Hey," he was like, "What can we get you?" And he was like, "Miller time." And they were like, "Sir, this is a distillery." And he was like, "Miller time." And so we actually had to like sneak in a Miller, or else he wouldn't shut up about it. It was a really bad scene.
It was really bad, and it got really worse when we went down to I think what was that Churchill Downs down the street. Uh,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
he wanted to bet on our horse called the Frozen King, and didn't make it out of the tunnel.
Jesus.
Um, we did. If there is anything that was positive that came out of this, there's two. One, Antonio did not put a hot brown on his chest. He did eat it like a regular person,
For
which
like,
is
that's progress. Progress. That's what we're looking
it,
for.
and for that reason, Jeff Brom like did give him the time of the day for like a minute or two. So that was progress too. See, like Antonio, like if you grow and show improvement, these people will want to talk to you more. And he's just like, it's Miller time.
Did he show you his Miller Moss signature that he got?
No.
So he got him to sign it like right on his back. Like, he was like, "Hey, can you sign me?" And Miller Moss obviously looking at this blow up doll, like, I mean, sure. And
Why
like
not?
he's expecting to, get an arm or something like that. Nah, Antonio just bends over and gives him there. And then Antonio's trying to like he won't wash it off, he won't shower. He's trying to get it as a tramp stamp, the Miller Moss signature.
I wonder what that would taste like at Woodford Reserve, the Miller Boss signature.
Not great, probably. Not Okie, that's for sure.
I don't even know if the guy drinks or it doesn't matter his name. That's what it's all about.
Oh yeah.
So that was wild, and that really only set us up for the even more wild stuff at Tuscaloosa. We think that Antonio is the reason that Ty Simpson beat at Austin Mack. Can you explain why that is?
Yeah, so he like Antonio over the offseason has gotten really into some like, 90s R&B hip hop jams and Return of the Mac, like he would not let us stop playing it on the way to Tuscaloosa. And it was just Return of the Mac. And
Nick.
so we get to Tuscaloosa and God, like the first person we saw was Austin Mack. And I was like, oh, this is not going to go well.
No.
And Austin Mack was just trying to walk into the locker room and Antonio was just like dancing around him like a kid hyped up on way too much chocolate and caffeine and just singing Return of the Mac in him. And like, I have to imagine that once you got out there for the spring game, like, when you've had a blow up doll and a thong like dancing around you singing Return of the Mac, like you're not going to be able to really focus on the game.
And when Ty Simpson did really well and Austin Mack did not, Antonio goes to Austin Mack and says, "You lied to me."
That's right.
Other thing was this is the first time he's ever met Ryan Grubb.
Yeah.
And after eating a hot brown, he wanted a slop bucket. Like he basically thought that like I only want to be fed out of a trough.
Yeah.
We found the nearest piss trough in Alabama. There's
The,
not many.
there's
There's
not
not
many
many.
left. Yeah.
So Antonio ate his biscuits and gravy out of that and Return of the Mac.
God almighty. Yeah, Return of the Mac indeed. One of the only places I know of that still has a piss trough in the world, the Dean Dome in North Carolina in Chapel Hill. It's just a rite of passage. You got to go watch Carolina basketball. You're pissing in the trough. Good luck, brother.
They had one in Liverpool down by like where the Beatles Alley is, so that was one.
Is
And
that what happened right before the like Abbey Road picture? Was they all took a piss together in the trough and then walked out?
yeah, they got some in George Harrison's hair, and he was never the same.
That's right.
God, is Yoko Ono is more poison to a team than Nico Iamaleava. Just
I mean, history says that's just factual.
and the other place that has a piss trough was Lakewood here in Atlanta for a while,
Oh yeah.
which would make sense.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Not anymore. But yeah, that's we got out of Kalen DeBoer was just not he was not having a good time. So we just kind of we said like we didn't even do this. Antonio understood in that moment like we'll deal with him later. He's not ready for this.
Yeah, no, he was singing Country Roads, but instead of West Virginia, he was saying South Dakota in the middle of it. So like I think Kalen DeBoer's going through it.
Gator, I say go get the rabbit.
South Dakota.
Oh man, that was ridiculous. So we go into Indiana today. We're gonna see Smokey. That's Antonio's really excited about that.
Oh yeah, he very excited about Smokey. Very tight. Very like he loves Smokey. I don't think he understands that little Smokey doesn't like, really care for Antonio
Tobacco.
actually smoking while he's in his face, but Antonio insists upon it. So here we are, and we're thriving. Speaking of, I don't know if you remember last year when I bought my my Coach Sig shirt. Yeah, they sent me the wrong size, and then customer service never got back to me, so I wasn't able to exchange it. I can't rightly be rocking a small on this show.
Does the NC State podcast wear it?
No, it's honestly too small for her. Like it was like it said small, might as well have been like a child's large. Like it was ungodly tiny. Like I got unarmed through it.
I don't think anybody in my family can fit in that.
No, dude, it's tough. Tough scenes.
So tough scenes there. And then I'm also speaking of tough scenes, the entire car ride from Tuscaloosa, Alabama to Bloomington, Indiana. Antonio just wants to play ABBA the whole time for Fernando.
Fernando. Like, and he's gonna be excited to see Fernando. Hopefully he doesn't have the same effect on Fernando as he did on Austin Mack. We can only hope for Indiana's sake.
No, that's what we're gonna do is like we're gonna confuse the S out of Antonio and say Alberto is Fernando and leave him
There we go.
alone.
There we go. I mean, hey,
He
that's
hasn't
why
he
that's
hasn't
why
know
you
it
bring
yet.
your brother with you. That's why you go to school with your brother.
It's like the Jennifer Coolidge bodyguards or seamless
That's
commercials.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but very excited to see what Coach Sig's about. They've got a lot of expectations here, and like just like Antonio wants to light it up there and find see if he can find a Bobby Knight who's still technically alive.
Allegedly, yes.
And the best part is because we have Fernando and Coach Sig, we don't have to see Jared from Subway, so that's really good for us.
All good for everyone around.
And I don't know if it's good for us everywhere around. Going to be Peacocky here with Mr. Cocky there with Shane Beamer. Him and Antonio basically got into a fight last time, and that's kind of why he wants to go back, mostly to fight Shane Beamer.
Yeah, I mean, he thinks it's like, fighting with your brothers. That's what Antonio looks at it like. I don't think Shane Beamer sees it the same way, but that seems to be what we're shaping up for. So, uh, let's just give this a PSA to Coach Beamer right now. You might get just like punched in the back of the head at some point during the spring game.
Yes, and I don't know if Lenore Sellers can see, but he's going to do it.
If
I
he's
love
if he's
that.
got the goggles on, yes. If not, it's TBD.
That's the other thing too. Antonio figured it was the first person to say Bulldog can't see. I'm like, you shouldn't say that at all because that's not true. But maybe the last part is. So he went
Yeah,
out there. He got a crash test dummy helmet instead of put the because he also agrees the North Carolina is the real Carolina.
of course.
So he took the garnet colored helmet and put the crash test dummy thing here and here. And he's got the goggles, so he wants to give it to Lenore Sellers so he can just run.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to run. You got to be this year's Cam Newton. So, and Antonio's really excited to see what Lenora Sellers is going to do. Again, I'm I'm just like we've got to find some way to get like Antonio like a little less field access than he gets because he's just causing havoc in all these spring games.
It really is. I mean, we don't need that. Also, just a side note, Gus Malzahn's kicking himself that he can't coach the Norris Sellers.
Oh God, Gus Malzahn like has like night terrors over the fact that he can't coach Lenore Sellers.
But yeah, we told Antonio about Lenoris. He's like can't see Bulldog. I'm like we're gonna come up with another name for him. So like we're working on that now, but it'll probably be something from ABBA. So he's gonna be called Waterloo.
That's all. Look, I love it. I absolutely love it, and very fitting for South Carolina as well.
I know there's no water anywhere. It's just hot as it is
Yep.
this fall start. So yeah, we're gonna be going there on a Friday. So probably leaving there worth a shiner, going to Michigan. We're gonna see Bryce Underwood. We're gonna see Sharon Moore, and we're gonna see if Sharon Moore is still alive.
Yeah, that I mean, very much like Antonio has gotten really into true crime podcast as well in the off season, and he does find it suspicious how little we've seen of Sharon Moore over the past like 4 to 5 months, and he's worried that the Harbaugh family might be connected to it. So he's I look I got a little peek in a suitcase. He has a full ass Sherlock Holmes hat. He has the pipe, and he's ready to go investigate. Um. I don't know if that's really a good idea at Michigan, given everything that's going on there with their former staff, but we'll see what happens.
Antonio, like when he's not talking to us and singing ABBA, he's watching a Harry Potter on VH on DVD.
Yeah.
And he doesn't say Sharon's too hard to say. He calls him Bathilda Bagshot.
Yeah, Bethilda Bagshot. Yeah, man. And like he's gonna see like Connor Stallions and hit him with the Expelliarmus. It's gonna be wild.
Yeah, he's gonna see Connor Stallions and he's gonna say Nagini.
That's right.
But yeah, we're excited to see what Bryce Underwood's about. Antonio's very excited about that. And most importantly, he's excited to see if Sharon Moore is still technically alive, which is great.
Yeah, we've got to get to the bottom of this for sure.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about after this, but we've got that all set up for him. But now we got to talk about one of my passions because graphic design is my passion.
That's right.
I mentioned that I had a very minimalist Elite Eight here, mostly because I couldn't get the logos to work, so it's just words. And Cody's not seen any of these. I've linked
Not
these
a one of them.
So I'm gonna pull up the email here, make sure I got this absolutely correct. I sent this, we sent it here, we sent it in. Um, it's at work. We've been dealing with some IT stuff at work today and last night. Can you access the email?
I can. We're thriving. I got to restart on the computer and we're ready to rock, baby.
All right. Number one, Biff Poggi versus number eight, Marcus Freeman Country Day School.
Poji, this looks like a logo for a hot dog restaurant. Like that's just what I'm seeing when I'm looking at this, which makes me love it even more. And then the Marcus Freeman Country Day School, your kids are my kids because we're one happy family.
Uh,
Oh, I gotta go, Biff. Like the hot, like, was your intention to make that look like a hot dog joint logo? Because that's what it looks like.
I just tried to find the most obnoxious looking one for It's a Man's World, and
It's
that's
a
what
man's world, but like it, like the bar with It's a Man's World is kind of hot dog shaped, and then you got like the mustard and ketchup colors. Like I'm just like I'm looking at this and I'm like I want a hot dog. I don't know.
You know what? Me too. Hot dog summer is rapidly approaching.
That's
Also,
all right.
Biff Poggi would definitely open the most sexist hot dog shop in all of where
Oh
he.
God, yeah. We don't serve your kind around here, and it's just a woman.
Dude, remember that time he had the hot dog cart there in Statesville? Just that's what it was. You blocked it out of your mind from all the coal. Now you see it again. It's just
That's right.
popping. All right,
Oh my God.
number two, we got Sharon Moore versus number seven, Brett Yormark.
So Sharon Moore nailing my head from my creator Jim Harbaugh with the line right through his name. This is honestly, this is just great design work.
Yes.
This being your passion is really paying off here because that's
Thanks. It
beautiful.
means a lot to me.
Brett Yormark, have you seen my bill?
Dude, it's Sharon Moore, man. Just the
It's
line
Sharon.
through
Yeah,
his.
we're not gonna belabor the point. It's for sure Sharon Moore.
That was almost number one. Um, the next two might actually kill you. We got number three, Carson Beck versus number six, Nico Iamaleava.
Oh God, Jesus. Oh no. Carson Beck 24-hour photo. Let's have a chat and I'll give you this pic and a snap. I'm not gonna lie, that's a dark horse to win the whole damn thing. That's
I know.
incredible.
Yeah. Then
Uh, Nico, yeah. Yeah, but how much are you going to pay me? Look at the logo looking like a dollar bill. It's Carson Beck. Come on, man. I'm dying. Unbelievable.
100%. And with the one that's going to be the hardest one to figure out here, which is why it's the 4 or 5. Number four, Drew Pine versus number five, Mike Loxley.
All right, so we got Drew Pine 4 or 5 year plan. I love costing taxpayers money.
Uh,
And the best part is the font you use that makes it look like it was drawn in a crayon. So, because he's not here to play school, and we know that.
he calls them crowns.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Uh,
And
I'm
then
glad. I'm glad you
Mike,
say crown. I'm glad you say crown correctly. That's a big deal.
I might be the only person in my family that does, quite frankly. But hey, whatever.
And then Mike Loxley.
Did the check clear? Living in America. Oh my God.
uh,
This
Drew
is a
Pine.
tough one. Yeah, I'm gonna go Drew Pine, but this was a good 4-5 matchup because these two are very close.
All right. So we got all the top seeds advanced. Do you want to? Which one wins the whole thing?
Dude, it's got to be Carson Beck. Like I'm fun. Like you about just made me curse. Like it's so freaking funny.
Uh,
24-hour photo. My God. Uh,
I felt pretty good about that.
we've got to start like when we talk about Carson Beck this season, we've got to start calling him the photographer.
He's a future Seattle Mariner because Randy Johnson and Ken Griffey Jr. are photographers.
That's all right. Have you ever seen Randy Johnson's logo for his photography
Yeah,
company?
it's like a dead dove.
Ted Pitch, which is just incredible stuff.
And the best part is, who's in the batter box when that happened?
Who was it?
Kyler Murray's uncle,
No
Calvin
way.
Murphy.
What a
Calvin
small
Murphy.
world we're living in, man.
We are living in a world right now, and I wonder if Randy Johnson, how he felt about Ken Griffey Jr. getting to go to the Masters and not him. They're like, you're too tall for this. It's like,
The sight lines, they're way off.
who brought Mr. Larson back from the dead?
I believe that's Mr. Gilmore's ball.
Uh, we got about 5 minutes left before you got a meeting. Let's move on to our last topic. This is going to be brand new. This is called Local Scouting Report. This is the dumbest S that we have out here. I've been brewing on this for a while. We live in two crazy places in the country. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Cody lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So just like the most New Mexico or Atlanta things you've seen of late, we'll do this with other guests who live there. Like we'll see what Alicia D'Artolo Castillo has to say about LA at some point. Scott
Yeah,
Rogus with New Jersey.
we're
It'll
trying
be
to scout the country. That's
mhm, we're
what it
trying to
boils
figure
down
this
to.
out.
We want everyone to get an insight into the world.
All right. So basically anything you've seen since you've been back from Phoenix of late, like what's the most like what do you got? What do you got for today's show?
So I'm actually going back deeper than that. And,
Okay.
I really need to set the tone for who this player, if we're scouting New Mexico, this is how you got to scout it. And you got to start from the top. And this happened probably 6, 7 months ago. Um, the NC State podcast and I went into Smith's, which is the New Mexico version of Kroger. It is literally the exact same. The logo looks the same. It just says Smith's instead of Kroger. And they have Kroger branded everything. We're walking around Smith's and this manager keeps like going up and down the aisles. And like I've seen this manager on like 5 aisles while we're grocery shopping. And I'm like, what is this dude doing? And he's not looking at us. Like I'm not worried about what we're doing, but he just like keeps like looking up down the aisle. I don't see him again for about 5 minutes. We go to check out. Then I see the manager again, and he's kicking someone out of the store. And he walks up to the cashier who is checking us out, and he says the phrase, "Don't let that guy back in here. He likes to stab people." And I don't know if I've ever heard a phrase that made me more just like stop in my tracks and being like, what do you mean he likes to stab people? What do you mean don't let him back in here? That seems like way too cautious of a warning for what we're doing here.
You can leave Atlanta and you can leave Murder Kroger, but it's still with you.
Murder Kroger lives on for sure.
Makes me also apprehensive about going to a Fry's in Phoenix or a Meyer in Illinois. It's all the
Right.
same stuff, but that's great. I got a couple here. We can throw back and forth. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Saturday after we got back from Phoenix, again, we did like 4 days there and I worked 2 days. So there is a thing called Beats on the Beltline, where basically it's like, DJs, whatever, they're going to be in a park. And they did not get enough security. So me and the Arizona State podcast, or Dog City in Midtown, are going there. We're going on the scooters, going at precisely 5 miles an hour through like the most congested, clogged artery of a belt line I've ever seen, which is just a giant sidewalk in Atlanta. It's an old railroad corridor that's partially connected.
Yeah.
Um, that's very Atlanta too. So we go there, we're looking for my buddy James, and like nobody's here. And it's like, what? There's still food trucks. We're trying to figure out where the DJs are. This festival started at 2, it was gonna go like 2 to 8. It got shut down like 2 hours in. Not for like lack of security, but because somebody was parking their car in front of other people's driveways who lived around the area, which is the most Atlanta, like nobody in Atlanta respects anybody else. It's
No,
just the most,
everyone in Atlanta is the most important person in the world to them.
yes. So we found that out like after the fact, and I'm just like a couple long drinks, and I'm like, that checks.
No, 100%. So I do have one since I've been back from Phoenix. I was driving back the other night, and it had gotten dark. And where we are in New Mexico, there's a lot of wildlife. We're in the mountains of New Mexico. There is some greenery up here, like in the desert. There's just a lot of random wildlife. Once you start going up the hill towards Los Alamos, there's a lot of even more wildlife. We've got mountain lions. We've got a ton of deer. Like I wake up every morning, there's deer in the yard. Like there just are. And driving home and I see something crossing the road and I'm like, well, I better slow down. Turns out it was like four elk. And I had to sit in there in my car and wait 3 minutes for these elk to cross the road because you think a deer will mess up the Prius? An elk will absolutely ruin my life.
Was one of those elks, AJ Hawk,
Probably. Yeah, just staring at me.
Centerville elk, just looking at you. Those things will end you. And I'll end mine, and we'll wrap this up here in a second. I had one that happened on Monday or something like that. I'm going to the paying taxes. I got to move some money around. I got to go to my local branch down here. I'm like before work, hair's still wet out of the shower, and like I can walk like to like the ATM. It's like 1,000 feet away from me. This guy comes flying in there in like a old beater, like dark blue Honda Civic, like rusted out fender on the front. I look at the plate, Clayton County. I'm like, okay, this is a vibe. Out comes the equivalent of the patriarch working in like the Chinese restaurant, the guy who smokes inside, where Chaco's just yelling at kids. Just completely cut me off, goes right in front of me to the ATM, and then just sneezes all over the screen.
Um, that's tough. That's just a tough scene. I mean, very Atlanta, very tough scene.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a guy that definitely his restaurant is like 4.2 rating on Google.
Oh yeah.
And I'm trying to put like a couple $1,000s of a check in there to do whatever I needed to do. And I'm like, this dude's gonna get me sick.
Oh yeah. 100%. There's no doubt about it. Like just a
What,
germ factory.
yeah, just like I'm like, he literally saw me and then ran out in front of me.
Mm. Yeah, like I said, everyone in Atlanta is the most important person in the world.
100%, including yours truly. This was episode 168 of False Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle20. You can follow the show at CFB False Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. One, two, three. Yeah, there we go. 5-star review. I didn't know where you were going with that, but I knew it was going to get to five at some point. But yes, please give us a 5-star review there on Apple Podcasts. Really helps the show grow. I'm so glad we finally did a local scouting report. That was life changing.
100%. We're gonna have to bring it back for sure.
Aiming at your head, it ain't hard to tell to Rockwell. And this is False Start.